Today we will have Staff Sergeant Michael Green with the U.S. Army, like Raul mentioned. And I actually have researched Staff Sergeant Green for a little bit before our presentation. I just wanted to share a few things that I thought were very interesting about himself that he will probably share more with you guys during his presentation. But actually, Staff Sergeant Green has a master license as a barber. He's had that for 15 years. He also has a bachelor's in fine arts, and he was in the reserves before enlisting. And he has made a great career for himself as a construction engineer for the U.S. Army. And we are so proud to have him on and so happy that the U.S. Army has sponsored our webinar today. Hello, Staff Sergeant Michael Green.
Been in the Army for quite a few years now, definitely over a decade. However, at the same time, before the Army, I was licensed barber and really used that opportunity to build who I am today. Definitely started from humble beginnings, very humble beginnings, and very 100% just pleased with where I am now. Definitely.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Now, Hero has your presentation ready to go, so we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay, awesome. So you can go to the next slide. All right, so I did want to start off this talk today by just giving you all a background of my Army story, okay, and go through just pretty much some of the things that I have done since I've been in the Army, okay? So I enlisted in the Army back with the Army Reserves, actually started off with the Reserves in October 2007. Biggest reason for joining, honestly, was because of the fact I was looking for a opportunity, and you're gonna hear me say opportunity a lot during this presentation. I was looking for the opportunity to avoid student loan debt. That was the biggest thing, it wasn't anything really outside of that, definitely looking for the challenge, of course. I grew up playing sports all my life, but the biggest reason was because I was looking for a way to pay for school. So the Army Reserves definitely gave me the opportunity. In November 2007, with the basic training and my job training for horizontal construction engineer at Fort Leonard Wood. And shortly after that, I did deploy to Camp Taji, Iraq for a combat deployment. Now, during my combat deployment, definitely did not touch anything, anything that I trained on during my basic training. It was more of the route clearance and route sanitations. And what that means is we pretty much, to put it in a nutshell, we were the ones that, we rode down the roads to make sure that there were no improvised explosive devices on the sides of the road. So we were looking for the bombs themselves on the side of the road. So I did that for about five and a half months, almost 6 months. Came back home and went straight to school, and I grinded out, towards my education itself. And once that was completed, that's when I made a decision to come off of reserve status and come on to active duty. My wife and I sold a house and pretty much just wanted to just start over, okay, and just get everything exactly the way we needed it to be. And so came on active duty, got stationed in Fort Hood. I've done 2 construction missions down at the border of Mexico, improving infrastructures there, so such as low water crossings, because it did do a lot of flooding close to the Rio Grande River, and then also improving a lot of the roads that was there, and actually cutting through one of the Milo fields that was down there and put a road in place in order for Border Patrol to be able to maneuver and do what they need to do on the border. So I did that a couple of times, went to California, been to Arizona, all over Texas, and just really doing a lot of road construction, a lot of civil engineering work. It's pretty much what all I have done since I was at Fort Hood. Then February 2016, I got stationed in Grafenberg, Germany. And while I was there, it was a little bit more outside of just doing general construction. Like right now, there's a big exercise that is going on that's called Resolute Castle. And that's something that we do every single year, especially for the soldiers who are in Germany. And during Resolute Castle, the first one that I was a part of was in Estonia, and the area that we were in, it flooded a lot from a lot of the snow that was melting, especially being one of the Baltic states like bordering Russia. So since there was a lot of snow there, a lot of the areas were flooding a lot. We thought that we weren't going to be able to do the construction project all together, and just using some of my expertise on construction all together, I was able to manipulate the ground to drain water away from the area where we needed to work and install what are called culverts in order to let water continuously pass through and use some of the natural resources such as the sand, because sand will allow water to be able to pass through but still be able to hold close knit together. Had some reinforcing on both sides of the road, but was able to put the road in, built a school while we were there, and built a playground for the kids of the Estonian citizens in order to be able to use. And so that was the first project I was a part of. And then also been to Poland twice, in which a lot of the work that is being done in Poland now, I was actually the project manager for two of the biggest projects that was initiated, which one was setting up a headquarters facility for aviation and allowing them to be able to do their aviation operations while in Poland. And the second one is what was called the $1 Million Range. But it was a tank range that we pretty much leveled off in order for our M1 Abrams would be able to come over to Poland and do their qualifying shoots and things like that, like shooting all their cannons and things like that. Went out there and improved that range in order for them to be able to do that, for them to be able to stay for an extended period of time. And it's just been a constant build off of those two biggest projects. And so with that being said, when I got back from that training exercise, the second one in Poland, that's when I came to Louisville. I'm in Louisville, Texas now. I'm working as a recruiter right now. And honestly, I love every minute of it because I get to connect with people just like you all who I really don't get to see every single day. All right. But at the same time, I get to connect with people who may not know about some of the things that you are capable of doing with the Army, and giving them that opportunity to actually see what I have done, like full-fledged, and could possibly, want to make those same type of decisions such as I have. What you see on the right side of your screen, those are the ribbons that I wear on my dress uniform, and where you see the special badges. The one on the far right, that's the recruiter badge, of course, but the two next to it, both of those are German awards. And so the one that's on the far left, that one is the German Armed Forces Proficiency Badge, and it's a physical fitness competition that the Germans they do, and they invited me to come out and come and do the event with them one year. And I didn't get gold because I missed my run by like 2 or 3 seconds. I was like extremely upset about, but at the same time, it was an honor to be able to go out there, and I still got my silver badge. And that's something that I still can wear on my uniform, authorized to wear. The one that's in the middle, that's the German Schussensnare, and that's where we go out and shoot all of the different weapons, and I qualify expert on all of their weapons as well, and that's why that one is gold. And so this slide here is just some of the photos that you can see from some of the things that I have been doing in the Army. The one that's at the top right is just a portion of the 15 soldiers that I had while I was in Germany. That group of soldiers, like, those were the most incredible group of soldiers that like I could have ever asked for. All of them were fresh out of basic training once I got there, and was completely like still clueless. Even though they went through basic training, they were still clueless on the opportunities they had in the Army. And so the group that you see right there, every last one of them are non-commissioned officers now. Like I was able to influence a lot of positive energy towards them in order for them to be able to build their own brand of who they are, and other senior leaders seeing them for who they were and not necessarily for what I've done. It's more for them, but they learn how to be their own leader. And they all have grown, and I couldn't be more proud. One at the top left, that is actually the groundwork that was done at that same project that I was telling you all about in Poland, where we put up the aviation operations center. So as you can see, there was one piece of equipment, and he was out, it's called a roller. He was out flattening out the ground for the parking lot, and all of my other soldiers there was out over getting ready to, I think concrete had already come, and they was out screeding and bull floating and things like that, and they were just getting ready for the next trucks to get ready to come in. I do fight with the Army. I like fighting. Not to get in trouble, okay? But at the same time, I do fight with the Army. So the one you see on the bottom left is a photo of myself and just doing what is called Army combatives. It's a mixture of mixed martial arts, so jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, kickboxing, boxing. So a lot of striking, a lot of ground game. And every time I look at that photo, I was going to do something very nasty, because he was definitely in the chokehold and he was going to the ground. And that's what I would love to do, is put you on the ground, because I can hurt you. And then the one that's on the bottom right, that's where I had my surveying team, and my chief warrant officer, he was out there with me. We were checking compaction, the moisture content, things like that for the foundation of that building before we put concrete on top of it. And they're checking the elevations and things like that as well. And so I didn't previously mention, but I am married. I do have 2 beautiful daughters. And so I live in a house of 3 queens, as I put it, my 3 queens. But my wife and my 2 daughters, they were in Germany with me during that entire time. So been to Paris 3 times, been to Rome, been to Vicenza, been to Pisa, Florence, been to Amsterdam, as you can see on the photos on the left side. And that's actually a picture of the Eiffel Tower, like I was standing underneath it. Taking my daughters to Disneyland Paris, it was a treat all in its own, but I also took them to Poland as well, to take my oldest daughter, take her shopping, because the currency exchange is super cheap. It's 1 zloty, which is their dollar. For 1 zloty is 25 cents for us. So definitely went shopping, go get all my clothes there because it's super cheap. So yeah, definitely have fun with that one. But yeah, once again, they was able to come with me during that entire period. They've been with me since this entire transition of being on active duty, except for my youngest daughter. She was born in Germany. All right, so awesome. So that was me. And like I say, I am an engineer with the Army, so I'm gonna give you all a pretty quick history of the United States Army engineers. Okay, so the U.S. Army was developed or was established in June 14th, 1775. 2 days after came the Army engineers. Okay, and mainly because of the fact that they needed those engineers in order to be those critical assets during the Revolutionary War, in order to help push back those the British as they were coming into the United States, in order to try to put it back under their laws again. And so with that being said, we had a lot of assistance from the French during this time, and they helped us fight in areas such as settings, some say, for Buckner Hill, Saratoga, and the final victory in Yorktown. And so the biggest reason why the engineers were established, okay, and I didn't include this in the slide, but this is just a little bit more in-depth history on engineers. So the French started teaching Army engineers a lot of information about all of the medieval days where the being able to conquer castles and things like that. And so that's where you see the engineered castle itself. That's why we have a engineered castle, and that's our emblem, because we always protecting the castle no matter what. And so putting in things like, moats or different obstacles in order to try to get areas where we're staying, or finding out ways to get past it. Those were the type of things that was taught to us from the French, and we just revolutionized it and made it our own, to where now we're at the point to where it's more about doing civil construction and also military construction. Is two totally different sides to the field when it comes down to engineers. And so a lot of it is based off of fortification, things like that, demolition, road constructions, road improvements, anything that is going to be able to allow us to be able to maneuver back and forth, and also give us opportunity to be able to stop anyone else from being able to come to where we are. Okay. So when they look at engineers, they call us the combat multipliers. Okay. Because when we're there, it's one of those things like, yes, I'm so glad you're here right now. Like, we need this, this, and this done. Like, please, like, yes, do what you do, you know. All right, so once again, and this is going back into the whole integration side of it. And so a lot of this comes straight out of our field manual that we use in order to, if we need those opportunities to be able to say, like, hey, how can we maneuver this? How can we make this happen? We always go right back to our field manual that we have set aside just for Army engineering. And so we always integrated with what are called BCTs, or brigade combat teams, to where we'll be a part of our own brigade engineer battalion. And so our being a part of a BEB, it could be a mixture of horizontal construction engineers like myself, and the combat engineers, or the 12 Bravos, or it could be 12 Novembers and the surveyors and carpenters and electricians, the plumbers. So it just depends on how they are trying to articulate that one particular unit, on if they're looking for more combat effectiveness, or if they're looking for civil construction. So for 12 Novembers, we can go to either side. It just all depends on what that unit is actually tasked for and how they need to be able to use us, because we can flex either way. We can go 100% combat, or we can go 100% technical with the civil engineer work. So just to break down a little bit more the capabilities of what we're capable of doing, like I say, obstacle control measures, planning out the plan to execute an obstacle. So with those being said, that's like in placing minefields, or doing what are called tank ditches. And so a tank ditch, it'll be the width and a half of a actual tank itself. So that way we know for a fact that no tank should be able to cross it. And even if they do attempt to try to cross it, then it's just going to be bad news for them, because we're going to tear up everything, because it's not meant for you to try to cross over. And so things like that, putting up things such as, I just covered the minefields, doing things like fighting positions for the tanks and things like that also. So we can literally hide a tank underground, and we'll dig so deep to where the only thing that is seen from a distance is the top part, or what is called the turret of the tank. And by the time you get close enough and you finally realize what is actually there, it's really too late, because they was hidden underground. You wasn't going to see them from a distance. And so this really all depends on what the commander actually needs from us in order to be able to do. Doing things such as the survivability operations. And so that'll go back to things such as, the fighting positions for people who are on ground. Like if people that's on ground need to develop any type of fight positions, or gunner's nest, or anything like that you've probably seen like from movies and things like that, we'll put those in place. Those gap crossing site conditions. That's more for like river crossings and things like that. And so we do have bridges as well. We do build bridges as well. And so with that being said, if we get to a large body of water that we need to get across to the other side, we will figure that out. We will figure out how to get over there. One of the things that I love about the engineers is our motto is "Esse ons," which is Latin for "Let us try." And give us the opportunity to try it. I promise you, we will figure it out, and we will be able to make it happen. Okay. Once again, we're combat multipliers, so they love us. The things such as the class 5 that you see on there, the mine clearing line charge loads, or they're called MICLICs. MICLIC is about 1,500 pounds of C4 explosive that is attached to a rocket. We'll use that in order to be able to clear off anything that is being hidden by brush or anything like that we don't want to drive into. Then okay, cool, shoot the MICLIC and it'll clear all of that. We ain't got to worry about it, And then the other critical infrastructures, and that's what I was speaking on earlier. So the sewage, the water, the electricity. We have Prime Power with engineers. Prime Power is one, they were a key asset to a few years ago when Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico. They went down to Puerto Rico and helped get that power back reestablished again. A lot of it is built off of if it's just normal electricity or if it's hydroelectricity. When you look at things like the Hoover Dam itself, it has a lot of turbines that are inside of it, and also included with a lot of generators as well. And so as that water passes through those turbines, and it's just generating the energy that is needed for, like, of course, Las Vegas, portions of California, portions of Arizona, things like that. I mean, I know you all are pretty educated, so I don't have to give that much of a history lesson on it. But we handle those as well, okay? We can do those type of things as well. We have those capabilities, definitely. Okay, so here is where you can see some of the vehicles that we will use on a daily basis. And so I separated it to where you can see more the top side where what we use for civil engineering, and the bottom half to where it's more for the tactical side of the house. Okay, so the top side and the ones at the top are all like actual pictures from project sites. And so it looked like all three. I want to say all three of these are from Estonia, the road that I was telling you all about, where I had to figure out how to drain all this water out and things like that, because it was a swamp when we got finished. But either way, so the dump trucks, of course, and it's not just 10-ton dumps. We also have 20-ton dump trucks as well. The 120 micro grader, that's what we use, and you'll probably see those like on these Texas highways, because there's a lot of road construction that is being going on. But at the same time, that's what we use those. We use those for road construction as well. From the scraper, that is more for land clearing, but we can't use it for hauling material when it's a large amount. That road that we built in Estonia was probably 5.5 miles. I'll say about 5.5 miles long. So we definitely need like every asset that we can possibly be able to use in order to be able to haul material. The hydraulic excavator, definitely a huge resource. The water distributor, and also the palletized loading system, or the PLS. And so with the palletized loading system, it can be very versatile. We can pull our containers on top of it and use it as just a transport truck, or we can bring our water distributor on there and do what you see that's being done in that photo, where you can see the water is being spread out or being sprayed out in order to keep dust control down, and also help out with compaction as well. And then, of course, my best friend, the D7R dozer, and I use that for everything, for road construction, to digging out fighting positions, to doing those tank ditches that I was talking about. I use it for clearing those IEDs, or the improvised explosive devices that I was speaking on. Like, we use them for those as well. Of course, it'll be up armored, so we protect it, but we use them for those as well. And then the bottom slides the bottom folders that you see, I love to use because it's so helpful, which is the Mine Hound. With that thing, you would think it looks like a metal detector, but it has a ground penetrating unit that's on it, and it's checking the density of the ground itself and looking for any area that is there's a void there for some reason. And so when it gets to that point, then we do what is called probing and open up that area, try to find out what is there. A lot of times that's where you'll find, old mines and things like that. And we just, dispose of them or call the explosive ordnance, the EOD, to come in and come and pick them all up because it's too many, and they'll come take care of it for us. The one next to it is a UGV, which is a unmanned ground vehicle, or it's a robot, pretty much. Okay, just to make it simple, it is a robot, and the company that made it is called Talon. Okay, so with the Talons, we use them for everything. Anytime that we have a very good feeling that something is there that we need to like go put our hands on, but it's an explosive, so we don't know where the wires are, how we can be able to manipulate it and things like that. We'll send a robot down there, and the robot, the arms, the hands are, I say the hands, but the control arm is closed right now, so you can't see it open. But anything that I would do with my arm or my hand, I can do it with the Talon, and it's honestly like playing a video game. I can do it from inside the truck, or I can stand off to the side of the truck itself, and I can see everything that I'm doing. Everything is all live streamed onto this big control box, and it's like two joysticks, and I sit there and play video games pretty much. Buffalo is another one of the vehicles that we use, especially for when I was speaking on what I did when I was in Iraq, where I was riding down the road looking for the IEDs themselves. We'll use that Buffalo, and you can kind of see the rake that's reached out right now. What they're doing is they're probing the ground from inside the truck. So no one ever has to get outside the vehicle unless it's 100% mandatory for us to get outside that vehicle. And their arm stretches out to, I want to say 20 feet, 15, 20 feet, somewhere right up in there. So it stretched out pretty far. And we'll be able to probe the ground and expose anything that is buried underneath the ground. And it has a camera on it as well. We can flip it over to the opposite side, and there's a pick on it as well to where we can use that as well. We didn't want to use the rake. And then the other one that's beside it is the what we call the iHemi, okay? And you would think that it would 100% fit towards the images at the top to where it's all engineered construction, but or it's all civil construction related. It looks like a backhoe loader. In a sense, it is a backhoe loader, but there's so many attachments that comes along with it that I can use it for everything. Everything. Like, I mean, I have a jack that's attached to it, to where I can break up concrete and things like that, or it can go all terrain. Like I can literally go sideways in that thing. Like I don't have to go just only forward and backwards and try to turn around. I can like literally what we call crab walk, and I can take it sideways if I wanted to. So that one, that vehicle is pretty awesome. Not gonna lie. All right, so I kind of talked about like a lot of the things that we are capable of doing, in the Army. But never really talked. I didn't say too much about what we can do outside of the Army as well. So what a lot of people are confused on is the fact that they think that, oh, you're part of the Army, so you're really not going to be everything that you do is only a part of the Army, but it's definitely not true at all. Okay, all of the skills that I have gained in the Army and all the knowledge that I have gained in the Army, I can take all of this information outside of the Army and do whatever it is that I want to do with it. Okay, so with the first thing with being project managers, like yes, we are all project managers. We all have that opportunity, and the Army will 100% finance the testing for anyone who wanted to get certified as a project manager and become a PMP. And for me, I had the opportunity to take the test. I was getting ready to come on recruiting duty, and I was leaving Germany sooner than what I expected to, probably 4 or 5 months than I expected to, and the test was going to happen after. But either way, if I ever wanted to go back and get my PMP certification, then that is still an opportunity. Working with USACE or the Corps of Engineers on the civilian sector, That's an opportunity as well. You know, once again, we already have the knowledge, we have the resources for it. So we could definitely go and work with USAs. A lot of times they are looking for um, people who are facility inspectors or maybe construction inspectors and things like that. And we can go there and continue doing the exact same thing that we've been doing since we've been in the Army, especially if you have proven, you know, your knowledge base. Being construction managers, want to work for just individual construction companies and going to be a construction manager, pretty much doing the exact same thing that we always have been doing. Things that I have, like with my resume from all the places that I have been and the projects that I've been a part of, you know, I have over 1,500 hours of project management, documented project management hours. And so I could easily put that down on my resume and go to any construction company. I actually talked to some here in Louisville, and they were like, "So when are you getting out of the Army again?" You know? And the last one is entrepreneurship. You know, we already have knowledge on what is needing to be done. So having that resource to where we can go out and be an entrepreneur and start our own business. The United States Army, they partner with the Small Business Association. There's a program that's called Boost to Business that will take you through an entire transitional point to where you come off of the Army and applying some of those same principles that you already gained in order to be able to move towards and apply to your own business as well. All right. So that is for me. That's like everything that I can let you all know about engineering. That from my experience, like I say, the best part about it is, you know, I flex and I go on both sides. So it's more so on whatever the commander is looking for, what they're trying to accomplish. But my knowledge base is large enough to where I hopefully gave you all a good understanding of what the Army is.
Thank you, Staff Sergeant. I love your presentation. You covered so many great things. I really didn't have a good sense of the history of civil engineers in the Army, so that's perfect. That's great information for the rest of our audience as well. Now, while you were presenting, we did get a few questions in. So I'll start with those from the chat. And if anybody else has any questions for Staff Sergeant Green, please put them in the chat room and I will go down the line and ask as many questions as we can. And so here, our first question is, you said you joined the military to avoid student debt. What are the education benefits the Army offers?
There's multiple educational benefits that the Army offers. So the first thing first is we all get what is called the GI Bill that is coming from the Veteran Affairs. And so the GI Bill, the biggest one and probably the best that you could probably get from the VA is called the Post 9/11 GI Bill, which is moving towards the Forever GI Bill now. And with that being said, it will cover 100% after you complete 3 years of active duty service. It will cover 100% of your education up to $25,672. All right, per year is what they will cover. Okay, and you have that at your disposal for a total of 36 academic months. So it only counts while you're in school. If you're not in school, then those months don't just continue and you're just losing them. Okay, so it's only while you're in school. And then also on top of that, with the post 9/11, you get $1,000 towards your books. You'll get a book stipend as well. And the last thing is you get what is called housing allowance. And that housing allowance, it is the equivalent of a pay grade E5 with dependents in whatever area that you're living in. And so let's say, you know, here in Louisville, because I do a lot of people, help a lot of people here in Louisville, if they were to decide that they wanted to go to UNT or TWU in order to go to school, for them, they're looking at $1,897 every month while they're going to school. Okay, and so that's one of the biggest ones. And on top of that, while you're actually in the Army as well, we all get what is called the federal tuition assistance, and that can be a part of active duty or the Army Reserves with the federal tuition assistance. That's $4,500 every single year that you can use towards your education. Okay. Upside about that one is most universities, I can't say all, but most universities, they give us grants and tuition reductions in order to be able to cover whatever our tuition system does not cover as well, simply because we are service members.
Wow, I didn't know that. This is a two-part question. The second part to this question was, can you go to school while you are serving?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm actually back in school right now to get another bachelor's degree, and this time I'm going to school for business. And so I'm 100% active duty Army, and I go to school full time. You know, I do all my schoolwork online, so it makes it a little bit easier. Plus, I have a computer, here. So since I'm building a computer anyway, I may as well just do schoolwork in order to do some self development. But even if I wanted to go on campus, just it's more about time management. And that's something that every adult has to be able to incorporate in their life anyway. So if it's something that you truly want, then you will find time in order to make sure that like you can make this happen for yourself.
Now, throughout your presentation, you mentioned that you were in the reserves first, and then
Mhm.
you made the decision to enlist. What made you make that decision?
Honestly, I was looking more for an opportunity to grow and develop myself, like overall, like total person concept, develop myself. I already went to school, already have my education taken care of. Financially, things were okay. I mean, I was in school, so of course, going to school, working as a barber, like something like you got to give in order to take somewhere else. You know what I mean? So things were okay, and I I love doing what I was doing. Like honestly, I love being around the people that I was around. The leadership development was on another level than I ever experienced before, and I just wanted to continue that. I really wanted to continue growing and developing myself, and that opportunity presented itself to me, and I'm all about taking opportunities and using it to the maximum benefit that I possibly can. And so, yeah, if I need to sell my house, and that house is gone.
Which is a very hard decision to make, especially when you're a young adult of taking that risk and you and your wife took that risk. What can you tell
Right.
our audience and our students that are watching about taking risk when you have that gut feeling that, hey, I'm going to take this opportunity to grow because it's going to benefit me, it's going to benefit my family.
Honestly, the biggest advice that I can give to anyone, and I'm gonna say this, and just going just a little bit deeper into just my background itself. I was 18-year-old who got out of high school and was sleeping in my car. Okay, and literally used every opportunity that I possibly could in order to better myself. Okay, expect failure, but don't be afraid of failure. Failure is the necessary part of your life that you need in order to be able to grow and become who you are destined to be, like your full potential. You know, um, a lot of people, I think that they'll get so afraid of failing that they miss those key opportunities to make it to that next level. I'm not saying go out and fail and get yourself in trouble and things like that to where you can't rebound from. But if you take a test today and you score 89 on it, go back and look at that and try to figure out why did I not make 100,
Mhm.
and figure out what you need to do in order to be able to make 100 the next time that test comes around again, or the next test, because some of those principles you can apply in different areas. So expect failure, but don't be afraid of it. Learn from every last one of them and grow from that.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Our next question is there an age limit to join the military, whether it be reserves or enlisting for active duty?
Yes, ma'am. There is definitely a age limit. 35 is the age limit to where they normally cut it off. there are opportunities for age waivers in order to be granted as well. Okay, so I say it this much: if because I had 34-year-olds, I had 35-year-olds coming to the office, and we was able to get age waivers approved for them. If there's something that's always been lingering in the back of your mind, and you always felt like you had that urge in order to make it happen, then just don't be afraid to go ask those questions. Just go sit down and talk to the recruiter. Like, you're not signing any contracts or anything like that by sitting down talking with us. You actually probably make our day a whole lot better by just sitting down having that conversation with us. But at the same time, we want to be able to give you accurate information. We want to be able to talk about the things that we have done, and even if it's not, if you're like truly not qualified, maybe we can give you some type of helpful advice in order to help you get to the next level anyway. But we're still non-commissioned officers. We're still leadership. So we're still pushing that heavy.
Now, you mentioned, people coming in to talk to you if they have any questions. Are you guys open during this time through the whole COVID-19, the pandemic, or are you guys only taking calls or you're doing virtual meetings? What is that like for you guys now?
It's all, it's everything. Okay. So honestly, it's more about the comfort of the person on if they are okay with coming into the office. If they are okay coming into the office, right now I'm in the area where it's just me in here. Okay. So of course I don't have a mask on, no point. But whenever someone comes to the office, mask stays on. We keep our social distance going. We always sanitize in the office and things like that in order to make sure that we keep everything under control. But for others, they feel more comfortable by having those virtual meetings similar to what we're doing right now. And so that opportunity is there as well. It's just more about reaching out and connecting to us, and let's try to figure out what's going to be best for you.
Now, you mentioned about you liking to fight and you being active um, in the army with that. Somebody is asking, the fighting you do is to stay fit or is it to compete?
Um, it's more on competition. Okay. Now, if you are just in order to like stay in shape and things like that, on every military installation, there's
Now, while we wait on that, we do want to share with you guys that we have a long partnership with the Army. If you have been to any of our community days, they normally are out at our community days. They do demonstrations of drones for our STEM talks, for our STEM presentations. Um, and speaking of that, this year we're having our virtual community day instead of in person. If you guys haven't looked at the information for our community day, please check it out. It will be on November the 20th and it will start at 11 a.m. Now, if you have any questions or have any comments, we do have a question here. When there's a flood disaster, you hear about the Corps of Engineers. Why exactly do they call on you?
because of the resources that we have available, like with all of the heavy equipment. And like I said, especially when it comes down to power not being available and things like that, a lot of times they're calling the Corps engineers for the prime power section, and they're the ones that they control electricity. You know what I mean? They can restore electricity for an entire power grid. That's their job. So if it's power restoring or clearing debris, helping with rescue, like the firefighters that are for the Army, they're a part of the Corps engineers. So we're like, once again, when I say that we're the company multipliers, like I mean that, like we do everything. We do everything.
Does the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers offer you youth STEM outreach programs?
Do they offer STEM outreach?
Yes.
Um, that's a very good question. I don't. I'm not 100% sure, and this is not good for me to say, of course, but I'm not 100% sure if there's a true outreach program out there for that's coming directly from the Corps engineers.
Are there any opportunities available to patriotic older adults in the Army, like many of us in the SARE program?
So I would tell you this, you can look at websites such as usajobs.com. I think it's either .com or .gov, one of the two. And that's where all of the government jobs are listed. And so if you were looking for those opportunities, and that's even with the VA as well, if you're looking for those opportunities to where you are 100% focusing on working with, either the Department of the Army, Department of Navy, Veteran Affairs, anything like that, that's where all of those jobs are going to be located.
Now, here we also have the Army has a demonstration team, the Golden Knight Parachute Team. Can you tell
Yep.
us a little bit about that?
Yes, actually, they just sent out an email last week asking for more people if they wanted to volunteer and things like that. Then the opportunity is there now. So with the Golden Knights, of course, they're doing a lot of like free fall jumps and things like that. Just normal parachuting, and typically you'll see them only do it like at like big sporting events and things like that. But all honesty, it's a year-round thing for them, and that's literally all they do. They ask for people to have here. That I can just find open the email. They ask for you to have a certain number of free fall jumps already completed, and have some experience like already attached to you, because it's not 1% a training process. They just, if that's what you want to do and that's what you have been doing, and you're very experienced at it, then definitely they're looking for people to come in and do that.
Okay, and we have another question here. What kind of health benefits does the Army have?
Okay, so when it comes down to health benefits, I know while we're on active duty, it's with TRICARE, and it's 100% expense paid. We don't pay for any type of health care. I mean, even speaking on that, June of this year, um, I had surgery done on my foot, and didn't pay anything. Like never pay for anything. 100% quality medical care that was given to me. It's the same for my wife, same for my daughters. We go to the doctor, we let them know what we need taken care of, and they handle that. And it ranges from, man, everything. It's a full 100% healthcare package. And for the reserve side, if you're a single, then you're only paying $75 a month for health care. And for that one, it's an 8 split. And if you're a family, you pay $225 a month. And once again, it's an 80-20 split. But the cap on it for a single person is only $50, and for a family is $100. And so once you hit your cap, it goes right back to the 100% of it.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, you mentioned you have two daughters and these great health benefits. Was your daughter born in a military hospital or was she born in a hospital in Germany?
My daughter was born in a German hospital. The one that, like my youngest, she was
Mhm.
born in a German hospital in Ansbach. Ansbach. I think that's how you say it. Ansbach. Yep. And so, I mean, she has a German birth certificate and everything. But it's just like once we got that German birth certificate in hand, we had to turn it right into the American consulate, and they pretty much just converted it over, gave her American citizenship because she was born to two Americans. Yeah.
Now, Staff Sergeant, you went into the reserves first and then you made the decision to enlist. What can
Mhm.
you tell our audience that's watching what the main difference is and if you preferred one or the other?
So it depends on the person, honestly. I enlisted, I was 21 years old. Um, and I already had like my foot like set where barbering was really starting to pay off for me. I had a very great clientele. I didn't want to break away from it, but I did want to go to college. And so for the people who have like that strong support system already in place, like as far as employment, but they're just needing the necessities in order to be able to help them get to the next level, then yes, the reserves is perfect for you, you know. But for those who are coming like right out of high school or maybe 1 or 2 years outside of high school, and they don't really think that their ball is actually rolling the way that they want it to, you know, it's not going in the direction they want it to, and they just really want to get that their heart, that I ain't gonna say a hard reset, but they just want to get a hard redirect in order to be able to get things on path they wanted to, then active duty is their perfect route. Because come on active duty, every single day you have the opportunity for necessary training in order in whatever job skill that you're looking for. If it's mechanics, medical, engineering, um, whatever. Like it's over 150 jobs total with the Army, you know. And if that's what you're trying to do, be able to like it's all expense paid because they're paying for your health care, they're paying for where you stay, they pay for your food, your uniforms are paid for, and you wear this Monday through Friday, you know, weekends, you know, you do what you want, do what you know, what you want to do. And so, you know, you want to wear your normal clothes on the weekends, then great. When you get off work, you want to wear your normal clothes, then great. So you want to buy those clothes, then you go buy those clothes. But for the most part, like everything is already paid for. All thing you got to do is just train and just get better. That's the biggest side about active duty.
Now, when you enlisted for active duty, did you know
Mhm.
at that time that you wanted to be an engineer, or did that come later? Can
I
you
was
say
already
later?
So I was already engineer when I came on active duty. And so when I joined the reserves, yes, I knew that's exactly what I wanted to do. And that's the upside about the Army in comparison to the other branches. And like, I'm not here to try to bash anyone or anything like that. But all honesty with the Army, before you go and sign any paperwork at BEP saying that you have a contract or anything like that, you pick your job and you see everything in writing from, you know, what job you have, what the job actually is, how long your contract is going to be, where you're going for basic training, where you're going for your job training, if there's a bonus attached to it or if it's not, like you see everything before you go and sign anything. And you can get that a full week before you go and like sign anything.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, our last question is going to be, do you have increased pay if you're stationed in a more expensive area such as California or out of the country?
Absolutely. It's all based off of the cost of living in the area that you're in. And so with me being here in Texas, you know, my housing allowance is not what it was for one of the other recruiters who works here. He was stationed in California before he came here. In California, you know, it was like over $3,600 a month or something like that, you know, that he was getting paid just for housing. That's just for his housing by itself. That's not even including his base pay. So the thing is, it just really all depends on where you're staying, whatever the cost of living is. They're definitely going to give you more than what you actually need, like especially for housing, in order to be able to cover rent, all your other utilities, things like that. Like they make sure everything is there, and then they also have a different separate pay just for the food by itself. So it's pretty awesome.
We have another comment here that says, thank you for your service to our country. Very interesting information for those who want to follow in your footsteps. Stay safe, sir. And again, thank you. That
All
was
right,
a comment
awesome.
from our
Thank
audience. Now, Staff Sergeant Green, we are so thankful that you took your time through the tech difficulties and everything to share
you.
your
Sorry.
experience, a part of your life, and what the Army has given you and what it can give to somebody else. So we really appreciate you and your time. And now I'm going to ask Raul to join us. Raul, are you there?
Yes, yes. And thank you, Staff Sergeant Green. Great presentation. We have other comments. Colleen said, Michael, thank you for your military service and sacrifice. We're truly grateful to you and your family each and every day. Words are not enough to express the gratitude we hold in our hearts for you and all those who serve. And
Oh,
yes, that
that's
is
awesome.
true. Thank you for everyone that served and
Yeah.
their family members. Thank you, Sergeant Green, for your time. It was a great presentation.
All right, thank you, sir. I really thank you and Melissa. Thank you.
Yes, and I want to thank also the people of the U.S. Army for sponsoring this event.